Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have a battle of the mats as Matt on what I believe will prove to be Aluren swearing off against what I also think will be a World Gorger Dragon build. We shall see. Ponder digging for Aluren. And we got a Underground Sea as well for Dragon. And that is going to be a Dark Ritual. Three black. Entomb. And you've got to expect that there would have been... Oh, this might just be Reanimator. You've got to expect in that situation the Force of Will to stop the Entomb. And now a Reanimate. And some life being spent here to draw 7 cards. One of the brutal things about Reanimator is the ability to leverage these cards into hand disruption. It feels really bad on the other side of the table. Now, you're probably just dead to Gristlebrand anyways, but the fact that they can use Lotus Petals and additional mana accelerants along with Unmask to just shred your hand is absolutely devastating. The other situation that can happen is they may have to go to discard and very often just discard more reanimation effects, and that was actually mostly fine. Wow. Discarding a Careful Study rather than opting to play it. I'm curious what Reanimator may have left in the grip that wouldn't be worth using that Lotus Petal for. A second land and passing the turn back. And every turn that this Gristlebrand connects is 7 life regained, which can easily then be converted into 7 more cards, which is exactly what happens. And a Brainstorm. Wow, Matt just not drawing anything of consequence, apparently. To need to use your mana to draw more cards when you have Gristlebrand is usually a sign that you could have drawn a lot better. A Plateau into a Children of Corliss, and this is actually going to be Tin Fins. How exciting. Discovering what the decks actually are. We'll be using Discord to figure out what people's decks are starting next Wednesday. We'll get the deck names up here. We're just improving bit by bit. And a Brainstorm here from Matt, digging. And he has seen enough. So Children will allow Matt to draw even more cards, and that is pretty much going to be game over almost no matter what. So yeah, we'll get some names together for decks starting this Wednesday. Let's see, I'm recording this on a Monday. I'm not even sure when this is going to air. Generally go through and record the previous F&M and Wednesday night all in the same day. That frees up the rest of the week for doing whatever I need to for the shop. And then, of course, other videos. We did the whole Double Masters spoiler. That is available on the site. And I guess I'll do a promo code for you guys. Let's do that. I'll do a promo code for you guys. Check out the description for a discount for Double Masters. Make a note for myself to add that to the website. There we go. It never ends. Always something to do. Got that Brawl decks behind me. I'd love to get the background of these videos a little bit tamer. We're totally rearranging the shop right now, making it more accessible for games. We just got in Secret Hitler, Cards Against Humanity, a bunch of games that card shops generally have a hard time getting in. Pretty happy with our board game selection. It's getting, I think, really great. And people, pretty much anytime they come in looking for board games now, are always able to get something. You can see all of those on our website as well. But this is going to be a tough matchup for Aluren. Reanimator is just such a faster deck, and also doesn't necessarily care about a lot of the mid-rangey stuff that the Aluren deck is hanging its hat on. So cards like Icefang Coatl, while very good when you can predict that you're going to be playing against Delver of Secrets reliably, not as good when we're talking about something like a Gristlebrand. Gristlebrand tends to draw a lot more cards and is not going to struggle with coming back from the graveyard, even if you do happen to destroy it. A Tundra into Ponder for this Tin Fins list. And a Prismatic Vista, and passing the turn. Brainstorm plus Fetchland. Looking good here for Tin Fins. We'll see if Matt can follow suit with some similar card selection. Now, as the control deck, he may be sitting on counter spells and surgical extractions and have all sorts of ways of interacting. But there are a lot of things that Tin Fins could do to ruin that fun. Had a lot of fun with the Dark Depths Tin Fins build that was, I think Matt Nass played at a GP maybe 2 years ago now. It was a Dark Depths hybrid, green, had Living Wish. Thing was spicy. People definitely struggled to figure out the proper way to try and contain the combo. A lot of the time, Graveyard Hate would just be made to look silly using a Merit Lage to finish the game when they're sitting there with surgical extractions and Leyline of the Voids and things that just don't interact at all with your other plan. Don't even want to call it plan B. It really is just whatever your opponent gives you. Kind of like jiu-jitsu. If they going to give their arm up, take their arm, their neck's there, take their neck. It's like, you tell me how you want to lose. We can make that happen. Thoughtseize here for Matt. The response, grabbing a basic island, likely into Brainstorm. Definitely much less scary than if that was a Veil of Summer response. That, of course, is I would say the primary reason for why we've seen, it's got to be the Dark Ritual. Just a Chain of Vapor, it appears to be left in Tin Fin's hand here. I've got to believe that Veil of Summer is the primary reason why Hymn to Torok seems to have fallen off so sharply. Now, there's an element of not being able to be used with Dreadhorde Arcanist and a bunch of other factors, but I mean, the primary one has to be just how darn good Veil of Summer is. Icefang Coatl draws a card, and at this point, I mean, my goodness, Tin Fin's gonna need like a Brainstorm to find some way to turn this handful of lands into something playable. Aluren, on the other hand, has a Brainstorm, able to flaunt it here, knows exactly what would be scary on the other side of the table. And at this point, I think you'd literally force of will a Brainstorm. That is a play that is rarely made unless you're like so far ahead it's ridiculous. But Scavenging Ooze with 1 mana floating, and I'm curious if that will be enough. Force pitching Chain of Vapor, Veil of Summer back, drawing a card, and I gotta believe that likely signifies the end of the game here. So Aluren has a legitimate clock. Tin Fins at this point has just nothing. just lands in hand. A careful study. I mean, that is a way of converting these lands into something more useful. So there is that. Two cards left. 4 mana in play. Far more than Tin Fins typically wants. Matt now acquiring mana that could be used to hard cast Force of Will. That 5 mana threshold, pretty significant. Limdul's Vault, and that is allowed to resolve. Surgical Extraction would be a hilarious response to this. Surgical, of course, the relevance there being that it shuffles the library. So Limdul's Vault is going to find this Tin Fins deck exactly the 5 that it needs, and then attempt to go to the turn. The rest of that gets shuffled. Those 5 go on top. And no, he does get the draw. A Monastery Mentor. And Scavenging Ooze now can nom on some of these cards in the graveyard, prevent potential flashback, any reuse that might happen. And Oko, and that will do, sir. We're on to game number 3. That's all Matt could do to get that Monastery Mentor in play. No cards to go along with him. So it was really just Mentor, go, no tokens, and then Oko shows up and makes all of that effort just an Elk, which is not going to get there. We are going into game number 3. Tin Fins will be on the play. We saw that Monastery Mentor, a little bit of a transformational sideboard, perhaps. Maybe looking to use those cantrips to just ride out an early Mentor and go super wide. But you do need some time before Oko arrives in order for that plan to be valid. I mean, he shows up and just Elks whatever the biggest problem is, or if there's no problem, just bring an Elk anyways. Turn, make a food if need be, Elk next turn. But I mean, Oko makes stuff happen. And at this point, man, I don't know. I mean, there's some really sick Planeswalkers now. It's difficult to gauge what the best Planeswalker is. I think there's a conversation to be had about Oko, Renin 6, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Narset, Karn. I almost feel like Jace the Mind Sculptor might be the least in contention out of all of those at this point. Still a tremendously powerful card, but 4 mana is a lot. When you can get away with a 3 or 4 casting cost, a 2 or 3 casting cost Planeswalker, Renin 6 obviously is ridiculous. Now, I have changed the limit to the number of players that can be in the room, so this will not happen in future games. We'll see if this sticks around. If not, I can resize the screen. There we go. So that will not be a possibility in the future. Matt drawing a card. We've got a Underground Sea versus Verdant Catacombs. No fireworks yet. First fetch happens. So we've got a few videos. This is the first video from this, I believe, F&M. We got an Entomb in response to Thoughtseize. It's a scary response. Setting up that lethal graveyard. A Force of Will. And I would have absolutely leaped out of my chair if he did have a responsive Veil of Summer. That's one thing that I don't see very often with Veil of Summer. And it may be because of the prevalence of days. It may just be because it's not what people are thinking of. But responding to a Thoughtseize when you've got Veil of Summer does give you the possibility for them to throw a counter spell for example, add a daze and then respond with the Veil of Summer. That can be an absolutely graphic line of play. Just building up some resources here for both players. Looks like a Shallow Grave and a Daze for Tin Fins. Matt fetching. Knows about that Daze. May be able to get a land drop and then an Aluren down. That would be more exciting. Gilded Goose. All right, so Goose is going to allow Matt to get around this Daze. Will we see an Aluren? No, Dryad Arbor just continues to beat. We'll see some more food come in during the end step. And now Oko. That prompts a Force of Will pitching Daze. And Matt fetches. We have another Veil of Summer here. And he does counter and draw, and it is a rarity for a player to resolve a Veil of Summer and not go on to win the game. It is such a powerful card. It's not obvious to people that are new to Magic, perhaps new to the format. Certainly in Legacy, just countering a spell and drawing a card, that 2-card swing, plus you're moving forward on your game plan, adding Threshold. I mean, it is really devastating. Oko converting both of these food tokens, and now 7 damage coming in, and things are looking completely out of hand here. At least Tin Fins has the theoretical possibility of using Shallow Grave to bring back a Gristlebrand. Regular Reanimator strategies, when they get below 7 life, Gristlebrand in this situation would become irrelevant, as you'd be able to just Elk hit and get it out of there. But no, we're going to lead out with a Dark Ritual. It's going to make it interesting coming down the stretch here. Ritual resolving. Another Dark Ritual. 5 black. Are we hard casting Gristlebrand? No, just to reanimate. So Matt testing the waters there. Aluren has a Force of Negation just in case. And that is going to be it for this one, as Aluren takes that one down without an Aluren. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.